Have you ever wondered how Chinese restaurants get their beef to be so tender and glossy? Well, they use a simple technique called velveting. That's where they use something alkaline, such as baking soda or an egg white, along with a little cornstarch, which raises the pH of the beef and helps the muscle fibers to relax instead of contracting and tightening while it's being cooked. This results in a much more tender piece of meat that melts in your mouth and absorbs more flavor along the way. So I'll make a little beef skillet here to show you how it's done. The velveting process begins with how you slice your beef. I just have a little flat iron steak here, and you can see the fibers run this direction, so you're going to want to slice it against the grain, just like so. Maybe about a ½ inch thick, so you have something that looks a little like this. And the second step is to add some baking soda to it. So into a bowl, we're going to place in about a tablespoon of water, just to dilute this baking soda. I'm going to add in about a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. This is really all you need for this amount of meat. I'll stir that up a bit so it dissolves into the water, and then in goes the meat. And you want to mix this up thoroughly, just so the baking soda makes contact with all of the meat. And this just needs to rest in the fridge for about 20 to 30 minutes. And this gives me time to prepare the other ingredients I need, like my aromatics. I crush up 4 cloves of garlic, and I grate up about an inch of fresh ginger root. And I also slice up some onion, and I get some snap peas. Simple enough. I also need to make the sauce, which is 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, just a splash of rice vinegar, a little bit of sugar, and some black pepper. You could also use some Chinese cooking wine in here if you have that. Also make a little cornstarch slurry. That'll thicken up the sauce and again help with that velveting process. All right, there's our mise en place. We're ready to go. Now for some people, baking soda can create a bit of a bitter aftertaste, which can be very unpleasant, but there are a couple ways to deal with that. One is to thoroughly rinse your meat with cool water. This is probably the most proficient way to remove that baking soda aftertaste. If you choose this method, you'll want to squeeze out as much water as you can here, place it into a bowl, and then pat it down with a paper towel, squeezing as much of that moisture out as you can, because you don't want your meat to steam in the pan. Now this is the most efficient way to remove that aftertaste, but there is another way using rice vinegar, or any vinegar really, which I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. But first, we got to marinate this. So to this, we're just going to add a splash of soy sauce, just a drizzle of the oyster sauce, a little drizzle of oil, some cornstarch, and a little sugar. And again, we'll just mix that up. Now you could skip that whole rinsing process if you wanted to and just put the baking soda directly into the marinade and let that sit for 30 minutes. Now the baking soda aftertaste is barely noticeable, unless of course you have a sensitive palate, in which case you might want to use the rinsing method or this vinegar method, which I'll show you right now. Let's go ahead and head over to the stove. Now if you've got a wok, definitely use that. All I have is this stainless steel pan, which is going to work just fine. Just get it nice and hot. Now this process goes really quickly, which is why it's nice to have everything already prepared. First, put a touch of oil in your pan. Then in goes the beef. Just make sure everything is spread around evenly so that it can make contact with the pan. Just let that brown for about 1 minute or so. Just get it till it's almost fully cooked, but not quite. It only takes about 1.5 minutes, really. It goes really fast. Then take it off the heat and set it aside. Then a touch more oil. And then in goes our onion, our aromatics, the garlic and ginger. We'll toss that around for 1 minute or so. Then back in with your meat. And here comes the alternative method to reducing that aftertaste. And that's adding a tablespoon of vinegar. You're just going to deglaze the pan like that. You see, baking soda is alkaline and vinegar is acidic, and the two go to battle with each other. See, they don't like each other very much here. They'll battle it out until only one is victorious, the vinegar. This will at least help to neutralize that aftertaste. Then finally in goes the snap peas and our sauce. If you're learning something in this video, please hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. Thank you. You'll toss this around for just another minute or so. Everything should look nice and glossy. See that? That's how it should look. It really is that simple. Let's just pull this off the heat now. Now we'll just serve this up. See how that turns out? Isn't that gorgeous? It really is something. The meat is just pull apart tender. The technique really does work. It's so tender and easy to chew. Garnish with a little sesame seed. Give this a little taste here. Oh man, so tender, so flavorful. The technique works wonders. So get in your kitchen and cook something tender and delicious for someone you love. All right, here you go, guys. What do you think about the meat?
It's really easy to chew. 10 out of 10.